If your spirit is not aligned with God, stop watching now. This message is not entertainment, not motivation, not spiritual aesthetics for the weak-hearted. This is a transmission meant only for the ones chosen by heaven. You already know who you are because your soul does not stumble into messages like this by accident. You carry a weight you never asked for, a calling you cannot escape, and eyes that see through people as if their souls are made of glass. The world sees you scrolling and wasting time, but heaven sees a warrior asleep. That is why this message has reached you at this exact moment. Black energy has been pulling at your attention, pushing you deeper into distractions, feeding on your exhaustion, and clouding your discernment. You know it. That endless scrolling, the sudden urge to click, the hollow feeling after it ends, it is not normal. It is spiritual warfare disguised as boredom. I speak to the chosen, not the curious. Stay until the end. Your freedom begins here. If you know you are a child of God, comment 777 and let your spirit stand tall. Subscribe to Rise of the Chosen, tap the bell, and share this message to others like you. Your destiny is waiting.
Dear Chosen One, are you walking the path of God but feeling a lack of guidance? Do you feel alone and isolated and want to know why God is doing this to you? We have built a community for the 144,000 chosen ones where you can watch our premium videos, get daily newsletters and prayer techniques to connect with God more deeply. You can also read blog posts and receive free ebooks to learn more about your journey. It will be your guide to walk the path of God and lead a life of faith and wisdom. More than 1,000 brothers and sisters have already joined, so don't miss out on today's daily guidance. Check out the link in the video description and join the 144,000 Chosen One community right now.
The silent war of attention. What black energy uses. Chosen One, I need you to understand something before we go deeper. Not every attack on your life comes in the form of a storm, a snake, or a betrayal. The most dangerous attack is the one you don't notice. It is quiet, it is subtle, and it does not break your body. It steals your attention. Black energy does not always confront you like a roaring demon. Instead, it slides into your daily habits, your scrolls, your urges, your sudden bursts of curiosity, your boredom, your restlessness. It does not need to fight you if it can keep you distracted, because a chosen one without focus is already defeated. For most people, distraction is a harmless flaw. For you, it is a spiritual death. A chosen one's mind is not a simple mind, it is a gate. It is a channel through which revelation, creativity, prayer, visions, and divine instruction flow. So when your attention is hijacked, your spiritual pipeline is shut down. You do not hear God's voice, not because he is silent, but because your spirit is too busy drowning in noise. The enemy knows your calling. He knows your potential. He knows you were not built to live a normal life. So he does not approach you with a sword. He comes with a screen. He does not need to poison your body. He poisons your time. Think of the hours you lose scrolling, not because anything is interesting, but because you cannot stop. The reason is simple. Black energy does not care about quality. It cares about quantity. It does not matter if the content is stupid, random, meaningless, or even spiritual. As long as it makes you scroll endlessly, it is fulfilling its mission. Your brain thinks it is in control, but your spirit is being drained. Every swipe is a little cut. Every minute is another drop of energy taken away from your purpose. The war is not fought with swords, but with attention. This is how chosen ones are weakened. You know this feeling. You have experienced the strange pull. You open your phone without intention. You tell yourself it will be a minute. Suddenly, 30 minutes disappear, then an hour, maybe 2. Nothing you consumed nourished you. Nothing made your life better, yet something kept pulling you deeper. That pull is the hand of black energy. It understands that chosen ones rarely fall for obvious traps. You do not blindly believe lies. You do not fall easily into toxic groups. You recognize fake spirituality. You recognize manipulators. So the enemy uses a tactic that bypasses your mind and goes straight for your instincts. Dopamine. A tiny hit of pleasure, a spark of curiosity, a new piece of information, a quick laugh, a provocative image. Nothing powerful enough to alarm you, but enough to keep you scrolling. This is not an accident. This is design. Look at the world around you. The most valuable commodity today is not gold, not oil, not land. It is attention. Corporations, media, influencers, celebrities, and political powers all fight for it. They invest billions to hijack your eyes and ears. Even spiritually empty people have figured out how to benefit from your attention. If humans know how valuable it is, imagine how much more the enemy knows. Do you think he will let someone who carries divine purpose roam freely? Do you think he will wait for you to pray? He strikes first. He operates in moments when your guard is down, when your thoughts are restless, when your emotions are unstable, especially at night. That is when black energy works best. Not because darkness is physical, but because your spirit relaxes and your mind seeks stimulation. It whispers, just one more video, just one more scroll, just one more page. You're not tired yet. And you obey. Not because you want to, but because something inside you has already surrendered. Chosen one, listen carefully. The enemy does not need to tempt you with sin if he can drown you in distractions. A distracted chosen one cannot hear divine instructions. There are messages God has tried to send you that you never received because you were busy looking at something meaningless. He was speaking, but your spirit was scrolling. He was opening doors, but your eyes were glued to screens. He was sending signs, but you could not recognize them because your clarity was gone. You blame yourself for laziness, lack of motivation, mental fog, confusion, sadness, or even depression. But these are not signs of weakness. They are symptoms of energy theft. A chosen one's spiritual batteries can be emptied not by battles, but by distractions. The enemy knows that you are most dangerous when you are focused. When a chosen one focuses, timelines shift, ideas awaken, signs appear, opportunities align, divine power flows. You become unstoppable. This is why black energy does not fight your talents. It fights your attention. When you start a project, your mind jumps. When you sit to pray, your phone vibrates. When you try to rest, your mind begs for stimulation. When you try to work, you suddenly crave entertainment. This is not random. It is a spiritual interference pattern. The enemy has studied your habits. He knows where you are weak. He knows you are human. He knows you are tired. He knows life has hurt you. He knows isolation makes you seek company. He knows loneliness makes you crave connection. So he gives you a false version of everything. Fake connection, fake stimulation, fake reward, fake knowledge. All of it is designed not to satisfy you, but to make you forget who you are. There is a reason chosen ones get bored so easily. The world cannot feed your spirit because your spirit is not from this world. You scroll because you are searching for something that resonates with your soul. But darkness slips in and gives you fragments, crumbs, shadows, and illusions. It keeps you busy. And when you are busy, you are not building, you are not healing, you are not evolving. Most importantly, you are not connecting to God. Black energy does not always manifest as evil. Sometimes it comes disguised as convenience. The enemy does not want to destroy your life. He wants to delay it. If he can delay your breakthrough, delay your growth, delay your prayer, delay your purpose, delay your awakening, then he wins. Chosen one, remember this. You are too important to be destroyed easily. The enemy cannot defeat you in direct combat. You are protected. Heaven has covered you. So he chooses the one battlefield you still underestimate, your attention. Until you understand this, you will continue to lose without noticing. But once you see the trap, you begin to break it. And when you break it, the enemy trembles. Because a chosen one whose attention returns to purpose becomes unstoppable. A chosen one who focuses becomes a weapon, and that is what black energy fears the most. The digital gatekeepers, where the traps are placed. Chosen one, listen carefully. The enemy no longer places traps in the temples, the markets, or the streets. The battlefield has moved into the palm of your hand. The snare is inside the screen you stare into. The trap is built into the feed you scroll. You think you are the one searching for content, but in truth, the content is searching for you. Digital spaces today are not neutral. They are engineered reflections of your habits, designed to mimic your weaknesses and feed your impulses. The moment you touch the screen, a system begins to scan you. It learns your reactions, your desires, your cravings, your insecurities. It watches which thumbnails slow your scroll, which topics make you hesitate, which faces make you lean closer. It does not need to read your mind. It reads your behavior. Your pauses are louder than your clicks. Your hesitation is more valuable than your likes. And so, the gatekeepers tailor your prison specifically for you. Black energy needs a doorway to reach your spirit. In the past, it used temptation through people or environments. Now it uses platforms, notifications, and endless suggestions. The greatest lie is that you are choosing what to watch. The truth is that the feed is choosing what to show you. It's a mirror, but not a pure one. It is a distorted reflection of the darkest parts of your curiosity. It never gives you what heals you. It gives you what hooks you. When you are lonely, it pushes faces. When you are wounded, it pushes opinions. When you are tired, it pushes humor. When you are angry, it pushes arguments. When you are lustful, it pushes bodies. It does not offer you what you need. It offers you what weakens you. Every swipe moves you further from yourself. The enemy does not want you to pray. It wants you to consume. It does not want you to grow. It wants you to numb yourself. The digital gatekeepers act like hosts of a banquet you never asked to attend. You sit at the table thinking you are eating, but in reality, you are being eaten. It is your attention they feed on. Your energy becomes their currency. Every second you spend inside their world, they harvest. You do not even realize you are surrendering. In the physical world, if a thief tried to drag you away, you would resist. But when the screen drags your mind away, you think nothing of it. You call it boredom relief. You call it relaxation. You call it entertainment. You do not call it what it truly is, captivity. Look at how the enemy disguises the traps. Notifications feel like tiny blessings. They whisper, someone needs you. Someone wants you. Something is happening. Your spirit jumps. Your attention shifts. You tap. And the chain tightens. Multitasking feels like productivity. But your energy is split into fragments, and none of those fragments are powerful enough to create anything meaningful. Information overload feels like knowledge. You think you are gaining wisdom. You are only collecting noise. You scroll past success stories and feel an ache inside because you have not started your journey. That ache is the result of comparison, not inspiration. The digital gatekeepers are designed to divide your heart, to scatter your thoughts, to weaken your will. Do you know why so many chosen ones feel spiritually empty? It is not because God is silent. It is because their minds are overcrowded. The divine voice speaks in stillness. Revelation arrives in clarity. Prophetic vision emerges when your inner waters are calm. But how can your waters be calm when you drown them in an ocean of stimulation? The enemy does not need to remove your destiny. It simply needs to distract you long enough for you to forget it exists. This is why the traps are subtle. They never feel dangerous. They feel familiar. They feel harmless. They feel normal. There are certain digital environments that act as portals of black energy. Some push constant negativity, conspiracy, outrage, drama, arguments between strangers. Others push hypersexuality and lust, creating chains of shame, activating the lower levels of your spirit, pulling your energy into the flesh. Others push artificial spirituality, fake gurus, shallow messages, or distorted teachings. The purpose is not to provide truth, but to confuse your seeking. Confusion makes you stop, scroll, and search longer. Clarity frees you quickly. Confusion is profitable. The enemy wants you searching forever, but finding nothing. Even your interests can become traps. You might be drawn to psychology, philosophy, science, self-help, history. These sound noble, they sound intelligent, but the feed knows your patterns. It will feed you just enough knowledge to feel stimulated, never enough to become disciplined. Stimulation is addictive. Discipline is freeing. The trap is not the topic. The trap is the endlessness. You scroll, thinking you are researching. In reality, you are just postponing action. The chosen ones are meant to act. Knowledge without action is spiritual waste. Your purpose is not to absorb the world. Your purpose is to shape it. Let me tell you something that most people never realize. Black energy does not care if the content on your screen is good, bad, or neutral. Its goal is not content morality. Its goal is content volume. It wants you in motion without direction. It wants you consuming without becoming. It wants your eyes busy and your spirit quiet. You can spend hours watching positive content and still be spiritually drained. Why? Because the energy drain comes from isolation, not intention. If you are alone, passive, staring, absorbing, your energy flows outward. It does not matter whether you are watching darkness or light. The enemy wants you to watch instead of live. Chosen one, you are particularly vulnerable to these traps because your spirit is sensitive. You feel energy faster than others. You notice patterns instinctively. When something is off, your soul reacts. But digital traps are crafted to numb that instinct. They soften your inner alarm. They give you comfort, distraction, stimulation. They silence your inner voice. They sedate your intuition. And the worst part? They slowly disconnect you from other chosen ones. You start hiding. You start isolating. You start retreating into the digital world because it feels easier than facing God's calling in the real world. That is how black energy works through the gatekeepers. They do not push you downward. They hold you in place. They delay your awakening. They do not take your sword away. They keep you too busy to wield it. Understand this deeply. Destiny does not die from one fatal blow. It rots slowly from neglect. Every hour the enemy steals from you is another hour your purpose is starved. And a starving purpose becomes a silent purpose. Eventually you wake up and say, I don't know what to do anymore. That confusion is not a natural state. It was manufactured. The moment you start resisting, you will feel a strange turbulence. Your phone will become heavy. Your mind will reach for the screen automatically. You will feel nervous, restless, uneasy. That reaction is proof of how deeply the trap has taken root. If you were not captured, breaking free would feel easy. Addiction always reveals the chains. You are not weak. You are targeted. There is a difference. The chosen are hunted because they matter. You may not command millions of people, but you command angels when you are aligned. You may not rule kingdoms, but you carry the blueprint of destiny. The digital gatekeepers do not fear your entertainment. They fear your awakening. And here is the secret they hide from you. The very moment you stop feeding the gatekeepers, your spiritual clarity begins to return. It might take minutes, sometimes hours, sometimes days, but you will feel your mind clean itself. Your instincts grow sharper. Your dreams become vivid again. Your heart becomes louder. Prayer feels natural. Creativity begins to flow. God speaks clearly. You start to remember who you are. That is why the enemy fights so fiercely to keep you scrolling. Not because the content matters, but because your attention is sacred. You were never meant to serve the digital world. The digital world was built to distract you from the real one. Choices define destiny. Chosen one. The time has come to take your attention back. The spiritual mechanics of mind. Hijacking. Chosen one, you must understand this next part with absolute clarity. The enemy does not need to control your body to defeat you. It only needs to invade your mind. Everything begins in the mind. Desire, discipline, doubt, conviction, faith, fear. Your thoughts are the gateway to your destiny. The enemy knows this, so it attacks the mind first. Not with obvious force, but with subtle influence. The body follows the mind, and the spirit follows the mind's direction. If the mind bends, every other part of you bends with it. That is why black energy does not fight you with weapons. It fights you with thoughts. There is a spiritual mechanism behind your compulsive scrolling, your inability to focus, your sudden cravings for stimulation. It is not simply psychological. It is spiritual engineering. Think of your mind like a powerful receiver. When you are aligned with God, you receive divine instruction, revelation, purpose, clarity. Your mind becomes a channel for heaven's messages. But when black energy infiltrates your attention, it rewires your receiver. It switches the frequency. You begin to receive signals of impulsiveness, fear, insecurity, lust, anger, or procrastination. You stop acting like a chosen one and start reacting like a prisoner. This is not coincidence. It is deliberate. Mind hijacking is the enemy's most effective strategy because it does not need your consent. It only needs your participation. Every distraction you accept becomes a tiny hook. Every moment of unconscious scrolling becomes a thread. Every unnecessary curiosity becomes a crack in the gate. The enemy studies those cracks and pushes through them. You tell yourself, 1 minute won't matter, but 1 minute becomes 20, then 50, then 2 hours. You do not realize what is happening because the trap does not feel painful. It feels comfortable, it feels familiar, it feels easy, and you mistake ease for safety. Black energy targets your dopamine first. Dopamine is the reward signal of the mind. When you scroll, you do not crave the content. You crave the next hit of dopamine. Your brain begins to chase stimulation like a thirsty traveler in the desert. Each swipe becomes a drop of water that never truly satisfies. This creates a feedback loop. Anticipation, stimulation, emptiness, repeat. The loop is designed to keep you in motion without direction. You feel busy even when you accomplish nothing. You feel informed even when you learn nothing. You feel connected even when you speak to no one. Your spirit gets quieter while your impulses grow louder. You must also understand how memory is weaponized against you. Your mind remembers patterns, not individual events. If you scroll at night, your brain remembers the habit. If you scroll when you are sad, your brain links sadness to stimulation. If you scroll when you are bored, your brain programs boredom as a trigger. The enemy implants anchors into your psychology. Soon, every emotional dip becomes a command. Open the screen. You obey without thinking. You believe it is your own choice, but in truth, it is hijacked intention. A chosen one becomes a puppet of impulses that were not theirs to begin with. The enemy does not need to destroy your identity. It only needs to confuse it. When your mind is hijacked, you begin to question yourself. You think you are lazy, unmotivated, weak, unfocused. You blame your character when it is your chemistry being manipulated. The enemy knows that chosen ones are incredibly hard on themselves. You carry high expectations, deep sensitivity, and powerful gifts. When you fall short of your own standards, your mind turns inward against you. Self-doubt becomes a weapon. Shame becomes a leash. You stop dreaming. You stop believing. You stop moving toward purpose. You start living in stagnation. The enemy celebrates in silence. Mind hijacking also works through overstimulation. The human spirit is not built to process thousands of images, opinions, arguments, and energies every day. You are absorbing emotional debris from strangers who do not know you, do not care about you, and do not share your destiny. Their conflicts, their insecurities, their chaos becomes part of your mental environment. You become spiritually bloated, stuffed with thoughts that are not your own. Your intuition suffocates under the weight of noise. You mistake mental burnout for spiritual emptiness. In reality, your spirit is still there, but your mind is clogged. This is why spiritual clarity feels so rare. God speaks constantly, but his messages require stillness. Not physical quiet, but mental calm. When your mind is hijacked, you cannot enter stillness because the enemy knows you will hear God in it. So it floods you with stimulation. Even when you are alone, your mind becomes loud. Ideas collide, fears whisper, random thoughts burst. You cannot pray for more than 30 seconds without wanting to check something. You cannot meditate without your mind reaching for distraction. You cannot study without your attention pulling sideways. This is not natural. It is engineered. Chosen one, I will tell you something that many spiritual leaders never say. The enemy does not fear your prayers. It fears your concentration. When a chosen one focuses their mind, reality bends around them. Manifestation accelerates. Angels move. Ideas take form. Destinies unlock. You have experienced small glimpses of this, moments when you were deeply in flow, when everything felt aligned, when creativity poured out of you effortlessly. Those moments were not random. They were glimpses of your true power. The enemy knows if you ever consistently access that state, you will become unstoppable. So it targets the gateway, your focus. Notice how mind hijacking always shows up when you are about to do something important. You start writing. A notification arrives. You ignore it. Then you think, maybe I should just check real quick. You check. 10 minutes disappear. The spark is gone. Your sacred momentum is broken. You lost the battle not because you lacked discipline, but because the enemy stole your attention at the exact moment heaven ignited your purpose. You never got to the battlefield. You were defeated in the hallway. Another form of mind hijacking is emotional mimicry. The enemy plants feelings that are not yours. You suddenly feel tired for no reason. You feel anxious without cause. You feel unattractive, unworthy, or unprepared. These feelings do not come from your soul. They come from interference, and you accept them because you mistake them for truth. A chosen one with a hijacked mind becomes reactive. Every emotion becomes a command. Every impulse becomes a direction. You follow sensations instead of guidance. You obey discomfort instead of destiny. Let me tell you something powerful. Once you learn to observe your thoughts, you break the spell. When you say, "This thought is not mine," the energy behind it weakens. When you say, "This impulse is not holy," the chain cracks. Awareness is the weapon that mind hijacking fears most. The enemy thrives on autopilot. The moment you become conscious, the trap loses grip. But awareness requires silence, and silence is something you have forgotten. You live in a world of constant input. Your spirit is starving for stillness. Chosen one, when your mind is clean, you do not chase purpose. Purpose finds you. You do not search for signs. Signs follow you. You do not beg for clarity. Clarity flows through you. You become a vessel of divine instruction. This is why the enemy fights to keep your mind messy. It knows what God can do through you when your thoughts align with heaven. The hijacked mind is unpredictable, emotional, distracted. The aligned mind is a weapon. It cuts through illusions. It sees destiny clearly. It carries authority that cannot be faked. So I say this with boldness. The war you think you are losing is not a war of discipline. It is a war of influence. The enemy has learned to whisper through your own mind, but whispers are powerless when you know their source. You are not weak, chosen one. Your mind is not broken. Your destiny is not lost. The mechanics of mind hijacking only feel powerful when you forget who you are. Once you remember, the enemy trembles. The mind that once betrayed you becomes the mind that liberates you. And that is the moment black energy fears more than anything. When a chosen one takes their mind back. When the chosen stop scrolling. Time stops fighting them. There comes a moment when a chosen one finally says no. Not because they are suddenly wiser or stronger, but because something inside them breaks. It is not anger. It is not fear. It is recognition. A spiritual mirror appears in front of them, and they see the truth. They have been living in reaction instead of creation. They realize they have been consuming instead of becoming. In that moment of clarity, they stop scrolling. And when they do, something extraordinary happens. Time stops fighting them. The world around them slows down. Their spirit begins to breathe again. The chaos that once swirled in their head becomes quiet, and for the first time in a long time, they feel themselves return to themselves. Chosen one, you were never meant to live inside the endless feed. You are not designed to chase stimulation. You are designed to produce revelation. The reason scrolling feels like a trance is because it pulls you away from the timeline heaven prepared for you. Every minute you spend drifting through digital noise, you are stepping off the divine path. You are drifting through timelines that are not yours, absorbing destinies that do not belong to you, watching lives you were never meant to imitate. When you stop scrolling, you step back into your own timeline. And when you step into your own timeline, time stops being your enemy. Most people never experience this shift. They do not know how it feels to reclaim minutes, hours, or days. But chosen ones feel the spiritual vibration of returned time. One day without consuming can feel like 7 days of clarity. A single night without numbing your mind can feel like a rebirth. Suddenly you notice patterns you ignored before. You feel energy in your body. You hear your own thoughts. You remember dreams you abandoned. You sense God again. It is as if the universe was waiting for you to look up. And when you finally look up, everything begins to move. The chosen are not bound by ordinary time. You have always noticed that your life works differently. You experience delays in seasons where others accelerate. You are held back not because you are weak, but because your trajectory is divine. Heaven cannot allow you to enter certain stages unprepared, but while you are scrolling, the training is paused, the destiny is paused, the blessings are paused, the angels assigned to you stand still. When you stop scrolling, they begin to move again. Time bends around purpose. Instead of dragging you, it begins to serve you. Think about what happens when you sit with silence. At first, your mind panics. It throws thoughts at you. Check this, look there, open that. But if you resist, something deep begins to awaken. You start to remember who you were before distractions. You begin to feel hunger for creation, not consumption. You want to write, speak, build, learn, pray, connect, move. The dormant gifts inside you begin to stir. That is not motivation, that is resurrection. God's voice, which you thought was distant, begins to whisper. Inspiration returns. You feel a spark that was always yours but buried beneath noise. When chosen ones focus, life responds. Ideas that once took months to form appear in minutes. Opportunities that seemed impossible suddenly find their way to you. Conversations align perfectly. People appear at the right moment. Synchronicities increase. Numbers, dreams, recurring symbols, they all begin to show themselves again. The spiritual GPS turns back on. You feel guided. You feel watched over. You feel carried. Time is no longer a threat. It becomes a tool. You may think all of this sounds dramatic, but you already know it is true. Examine your own life. The greatest breakthroughs you have ever had did not come from scrolling. They came from moments when you were present, grounded, and attentive. They came when you stepped away from noise and touched the essence of who you are. Some of your most powerful revelations came in moments of stillness. Late nights staring at the ceiling, early mornings when the world was quiet, long walks when you forgot your phone. Those moments are not random. They are windows. Heaven speaks through stillness. You keep the window open by refusing the distractions that close it. The enemy knows that when a chosen one focuses, their destiny accelerates. That is why temptation intensifies the moment you try to break free. You will feel the urge to check messages. Your mind will tell you, what if something important is happening? You will imagine scenarios in which you miss opportunities or relationships because you disconnected. This is spiritual blackmail. The enemy tries to convince you that your absence will make you irrelevant. But the opposite is true. Your presence in real life makes you powerful. Your absence in digital chaos makes you untouchable. When chosen ones stop scrolling, their body returns to rhythm. They sleep better. They think clearer. They breathe deeper. Their nervous system begins to heal. Their dopamine receptors reset. They feel joy from real things, not pixels. They begin to crave meaningful conversations, sacred silence, sunlight, movement, prayer, creation. Their soul takes up space again. Distractions no longer fill the void because the void has been reclaimed by purpose. They do not run from boredom because boredom becomes fertile ground. They begin to understand that boredom is not absence, it is space, and space is where destiny grows. You may not realize this yet, but your destiny is not built through consumption. It is built through expression. The chosen are creators by nature. You are a producer of light, of ideas, of guidance, of influence. But scrolling keeps your power trapped. It feeds you with fragments of other people's lives, so you never manifest your own. When you stop scrolling, creation begins to rise out of you naturally. You start writing instead of reading about writing. You start speaking instead of listening to others speak. You start building instead of dreaming about building. You step into motion, and motion is the language of heaven. There is another reason time shifts for the chosen. You are not built to live at the pace of the masses. The masses move linearly, day after day, routine after routine, cycle after cycle. But chosen ones move in leaps. You climb in seasons. You grow in bursts. When you heal rapidly. When you focus, you accelerate. When you obey divine instruction, you jump timelines. That is why the enemy tries to keep you busy with constant stimulation. If you ever sit still long enough to listen, heaven will reposition you. And that repositioning would undo years of delay. The enemy fears that moment more than anything. When you stop scrolling, you reclaim the present moment. You stop living in comparison. You stop living in imitation. You stop living in anxiety about what others are doing. You begin to see your own life. You begin to see your own blessings. You begin to feel gratitude instead of envy. You begin to feel hope instead of hopelessness. This change in perception transforms your spiritual identity. You go from being a consumer of possibility to becoming the manifestation of possibility. Chosen ones do not rise by watching other chosen ones. They rise by stepping into their own calling. Do not underestimate how powerful this shift is. The first few days will feel uncomfortable. Your mind will resist stillness. Your impulses will push you toward distraction. But if you endure, the reward will be astonishing. A clarity will come over you like morning fog lifting from a mountain. Your energy will return. Your posture will straighten. Your voice will deepen. Your thoughts will sharpen. You will walk differently. You will speak differently. You will pray differently. Black energy will sense the shift and grow restless. You will feel the enemy trying to pull you back into numbness, but you will not be weak anymore. You will realize that scrolling was never entertainment. It was a spiritual sedative. It was a silent cage. You thought you were escaping reality. In truth, you were being held hostage by it. When you stop scrolling, you break the bars of that cage. You step back into reality with eyes that see. Time stops fighting you because time recognizes the warrior you are. Heaven begins to move pieces in your favor again. Your destiny, once paused, resumes its march. Chosen one, I am telling you this not to inspire you, but to awaken you. You are not like the others. You cannot live the way they live. You cannot feed your mind with poison and expect to bloom. You cannot numb your spirit and expect to access divine instruction. You cannot surrender your attention to the enemy and expect God to bless the path ahead. You must take your attention back. When you do, time will kneel, destiny will rise, and the world will finally feel the presence of the chosen one it has been waiting for, you. Recognizing your personal triggers. Chosen one, every spiritual warrior falls not because the enemy is stronger, but because they fail to understand where they are weak. Your triggers are not random. They are entry points, doors through which black energy enters your mind, your habits, and your spirit. The enemy does not waste energy pushing against your strengths. It studies your tendencies, your wounds, your history, your cravings, and your fears. Then, it designs the perfect key to unlock your attention. To win this war, you must recognize these keys. You must know where the enemy knocks. Every chosen one has a vulnerability gate. For some, it is boredom. For others, loneliness or stress. Some fall into scrolling when they feel rejected or unseen. Some fall into lust when they feel unworthy. Some chase dopamine when they feel directionless. Your trigger is not the content. It is the emotion that comes before the screen. If you catch that emotion, you break the cycle. If you don't, the cycle catches you. Let us strip away illusions. Imagine you are trying to work on something meaningful, a project, a prayer, a dream. You sit down to start and suddenly you feel a small discomfort. Your mind whispers, just check your phone first. That whisper is not neutral. It is a trained response. The trigger is not the phone. The trigger is the discomfort. The distraction is not the villain. The emotion behind it is. The enemy uses your emotional discomfort as a doorway. It knows you avoid tension. It knows you flee from uncertainty. It knows you crave quick relief. So it places the screen in front of you as an escape hatch. You don't open the app because it is fun. You open it because it is familiar. Chosen one, your triggers are always connected to past wounds. A chosen who grew up invisible will chase attention. A chosen who grew up controlled will chase freedom. A chosen who grew up judged will chase validation. And the darkest trap of all is that the enemy does not satisfy your wounds. It profits from them. It sends you fleeting comfort that leaves you emptier afterward. You scroll through the lives of others hoping to feel something meaningful, but you only feel smaller. You chase brief excitement, only to drown in shame later. The trigger fires, the cycle begins, and the chosen forgets they are chosen. This is why denial is deadly. Many people will tell you to just stop scrolling, but they never ask why you scroll. They treat the symptom, not the disease. The screen is not the addiction. The emotion is. If you are a chosen one, your spirit is too powerful to fall to cheap temptations. It takes deeper, more personal wounds. The enemy will use the shadow of your past to tie a leash around your future. If you do not study the shadow, you will never break the leash. There are 4 primary trigger gates most chosen ones experience. The first is loneliness. You scroll because you feel disconnected. You see others living, laughing, traveling, loving. You absorb their energy as a substitute for your own. Black energy whispers, look at them, look at their joy. You should be like them. But comparison is poison. It drains you into believing your life is stagnant. In reality, your path requires isolation because you are being prepared. Other people walk in crowds. You walk with angels, you mistake your calling for absence, and loneliness becomes a parasite. The second is stress. Chosen ones are not easily overwhelmed, but when the pressure hits, it hits deep. You scroll because your mind begs for relief, but the relief is hollow. The content gives you stimulation, not rest. It gives you distraction, not direction. Hours pass, and the stress remains. Worse, now you hate yourself for wasting time. The enemy relishes this moment. It loves to give you false comfort that turns into real self-disgust. This is how chosen ones spiral. The third is lust. It is not lust of the body alone, but lust of significance. The chosen crave connection, intimacy, touch, affirmation. Black energy weaponizes this hunger through seductive images, sexual content, romantic fantasies, or shallow validation loops. Lust forces you into your body and pulls you away from your purpose. It keeps you chasing sensations until your spirit grows numb. Lust is the enemy's fastest way to fracture your identity because the chosen are not designed to live in the flesh. You are built for the spirit. That is why lust empties you instead of fulfilling you. The fourth gate is fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of destiny. You scroll because you feel unprepared for your calling. You hide from responsibility in pixels. You hide from yourself in distraction. This fear is not weakness. It is the pressure of greatness. The chosen learn slowly because their destiny is heavy. But when you run from fear, you run from your throne, and the enemy thrives in the absence of a king. Recognizing your triggers begins with noticing when you reach for distraction. Pay attention to the moment before the swipe. That moment is a map. Sometimes you will find hurt. Sometimes you will find boredom. Sometimes you will find anger. Whatever you find, do not judge it. Observe it. Judgment strengthens the trap. Awareness disarms it. You do not defeat the enemy by fighting the screen. You defeat it by knowing why you need the screen. This is the part most chosen ones misunderstand. Overpowering your triggers is not about force. It is about replacement. Nature does not tolerate emptiness. If you remove distraction, but do not fill it with purpose, the void will swallow you. You will return to scrolling, or you will find something worse. Meaning is the antidote. When you stand in purpose, triggers lose their identity. When you live spiritually, lust becomes unattractive. When you live intentionally, boredom becomes impossible. When you live with God, fear becomes quiet. Chosen one, I want you to take this truth slowly. You are not broken. Your triggers are not signs of failure. They are maps to your healing. They mark the places where you must grow. They show you where the enemy has entered before. They reveal the wounds you never looked at. The chosen do not rise by ignoring their weakness. They rise by mastering it. Think of your life as a fortress. Walls are built where the enemy has attacked. If you pretend the gate does not exist, the enemy will use it forever. But if you stand at the gate and say, I see you, something changes. The enemy loses its advantage. It fears visibility. Darkness thrives in confusion. Clarity exposes it. When you can name the feeling behind your distraction, you are no longer a victim. You become a gatekeeper of your own mind. And once you reach this point of self-awareness, a shift occurs that is profound and irreversible. You no longer run from discomfort. You sit with it. You no longer fear loneliness. You walk through it. You no longer surrender to lust. You breathe and let the hunger pass. You no longer drown in stress. You pause and realign. The chosen are not just spiritually powerful. They are emotionally sovereign. They do not wait for external control. They stand in internal command. Let me tell you something that will resonate in the depths of your spirit. The enemy does not fear your success. It fears your healing. A healed chosen one cannot be manipulated. A healed chosen one becomes a light that exposes darkness. A healed chosen one becomes a leader, not a follower. A healed chosen one becomes a voice, not a consumer. If you are reading this and you feel resonance in your chest, pause and breathe. Your spirit is awakening to the truth of who you are. And if this message has reached your heart, comment 999 to acknowledge that you have recognized the gate you must close. Living above the feed. Divine replacement. Chosen one, you will never win this battle by trying to suppress your desires. You cannot bury them, you cannot ignore them, and you cannot pretend they do not exist. Every chosen has cravings, weaknesses, loneliness, hunger for meaning, hunger for beauty, hunger for connection, hunger for purpose. These desires are not sins. They are signals pointing toward the destiny written inside you. The problem is not the desire itself. The problem is that the enemy gives you a counterfeit version of what God intended for you. The feed is a false world built to replace the real life heaven called you to live. Most souls become consumers of that false world, but the chosen are meant to rise above it. Living above the feed is not about deleting everything and going into isolation. It is about replacing digital stimulation with divine activation. The feed is designed to give you tiny rewards that feel like victory but leave you spiritually starving. Your spirit cannot grow from borrowed images of other people's lives. It grows when you begin to live your own. The chosen cannot be nourished by watching other people fulfill their purpose. They feel fulfilled only when they step into their own calling. This is why the chosen feel a deep ache while scrolling. It is not boredom, it is destiny knocking. The chosen do not find peace in distraction. They find peace in alignment. When a chosen one replaces endless consumption with meaningful work, the transformation is immediate. You begin to feel your energy returning to your body. Your posture changes. Your breathing deepens. Your mind stops trembling. The heaviness disappears. You begin to sleep better. You wake up with ideas. You think about the future instead of the past. This is because your spirit has stopped wandering. You are no longer a spectator. You have become a participant in your own life. Most people scroll to fill emptiness. They do not create because they believe they have nothing worth expressing. But a chosen one has always had something to express. You are filled with gifts that you have not touched. Your mind contains visions, stories, teachings, art, leadership, compassion, divine instruction. When you scroll, those gifts shrink. When you create, those gifts awaken. The feed numbs your identity. Creation reveals it. Every chosen one is a creator by nature, even if their craft is unseen. Some are builders, some are teachers, some are healers, some are innovators, some are warriors, some are leaders. When you step into the role heaven designed for you, you feel alive in a way no digital rush can imitate. Living above the feed means you stop seeking stimulation and start seeking substance. It means you exchange noise for nourishment. It means replacing the dopamine loop with divine routine. You begin to find joy in silence. You begin to find strength in prayer. You begin to find meaning in discipline. You begin to find excitement in growth. You start taking steps forward, even if they are small, and those steps begin to multiply. Your life becomes a pathway instead of a loop. Ask yourself this: what happens when you are alone without a screen? Does your spirit tremble? Do you feel restless? Do you feel a pull to pick up your phone? That restlessness is the voice of unfulfilled purpose. It is the guilt of your potential begging to be noticed. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a signal from heaven. When chosen ones sit with silence, their soul starts to whisper memories of what they once wanted to become, dreams they buried, talents they ignored, missions they postponed. Living above the feed means listening to those whispers instead of suffocating them with distractions. When you begin to replace scrolling with sacred action, your world shifts. The first replacement is prayer. Not recited prayer, not formal prayer, but prayer that is raw and honest. Speak to God the way you speak to yourself. Tell him your confusion, your fatigue, your hunger, your fear. Tell him what you want, even if you do not know how to say it properly. When the chosen pray, heaven responds quickly. Not because you are special by ego, but because you are chosen by design. God has already assigned angels to your path, waiting for activation. Every moment you spend in prayer is a signal to heaven that you are ready to return to your mission. The second replacement is creation. The chosen must produce something, anything, that expresses their spirit. It could be writing, building, teaching, training, designing, recording, crafting, solving, inventing. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to begin. Creation is sacred because it opens a spiritual doorway. The moment you create, you become co-laborer with God. You step into the divine rhythm. Even the smallest creation, one page, one idea, one note, releases energy that scrolling will never give you. The third replacement is connection. Not artificial online interaction, but real human presence. The chosen often isolate because the world does not understand them. But isolation without purpose becomes stagnation. You must connect with people who sharpen you, people who challenge you, people who remind you who you are. Chosen ones do not need many allies, they need the right ones. The enemy isolates you so you forget your power. God sends others so you remember your identity. Living above the feed requires discipline, but not the kind people think. Discipline is not brute force. It is devotion to purpose. When you force yourself to stop scrolling, you will suffer. When you replace scrolling with meaning, you will heal. You do not wake up every morning and battle temptation by screaming at yourself. You wake up and devote that energy to something greater. The chosen do not run from weakness, they outgrow it. You outgrow the feed by building a life too strong to be numbed. There will come a moment, sooner than you think, when the feed becomes boring, not because it changed, but because you have. A chosen one who has tasted purpose cannot go back to empty stimulation. The dopamine that once hooked you becomes laughable. You look at the screen and feel nothing. You look at your goals and feel fire. That shift is irreversible. It means you have stepped into alignment. It means heaven has begun moving pieces around you. It means the enemy has lost its leverage. Living above the feed also demands that you learn stillness. Most people confuse rest with distraction. They think scrolling is rest. They think noise is rest. But rest is presence. Rest is breath. Rest is letting your nervous system settle. Rest is letting your soul re-enter your body. When chosen ones rest properly, they regenerate. Their intuition sharpens, their body heals, their dreams become vivid, their spirit begins to speak. You will realize how many answers were waiting for you in silence. And I must tell you the truth. Living above the feed will cost you things. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you the illusion of connection. It will cost you quick dopamine hits. It will cost you the false identity you built around other people's opinions. But what you gain is priceless. You will gain clarity. You will gain confidence. You will gain focus. You will gain courage. You will gain a direct line to God. And you will gain the ability to walk your own path without needing applause from strangers. Chosen one, you are not meant to exist as a consumer. You are meant to be a creator of reality. The feed offers you fragments of other people's lives, so you never assemble your own. It offers you noise, so you never hear the divine. It offers you imitation, so you never manifest identity. But when you rise above the feed, you step into the version of yourself that heaven has been waiting for. That version does not scroll. That version builds. That version leads. That version transforms the world simply by being present in it. The enemy wants you passive. God wants you powerful. The feed wants you distracted. Heaven wants you awakened. The masses want you silent. Destiny wants you loud. Living above the feed is not a trend or a challenge. It is a spiritual rebirth. When you rise above it, every part of your life begins to align. Your wounds begin to heal. Your path becomes visible. Your timing becomes divine. And the world will feel your presence because the chosen no longer observes life from behind a screen. They walk into it and claim it. Conclusion. Do not scroll, rise. Chosen one, you know this message did not reach you by accident. You felt the pull, the fire, the discomfort, the awakening. It was not entertainment. It was a reminder. You are not meant to live buried in digital noise. You are meant to carve paths, heal souls, walk in purpose. The enemy is subtle but not stronger than you. It only needed your attention because it could never take your destiny. Now you see the trap. Now you recognize the hooks. Now you know the spiritual mechanics behind your distraction. With that knowledge, you are already stepping into your power. The moment you stop scrolling, you step back into your timeline. You do not lose the world. You reclaim yourself. You do not lose entertainment. You gain clarity. You do not run from your calling. You walk toward it with the strength heaven placed in you. Your mind will resist. Your impulses will beg. But your spirit will be louder. Let it guide you. Sit in silence. Speak to God. Create something small today. Take a step that belongs to you, not to the feed. Every chosen one reaches a crossroads. You are standing in front of yours. Do not scroll. Rise. The world has enough watchers. Heaven does not need another lost soul staring at illusions. Heaven needs the warrior you were born to be. Stop letting the screen own your energy. Lift your head. Breathe. Walk forward. Your destiny has been waiting.